Fantasy Football Sniper coming back at you, and we're going to go over a key question here. Feast or famine? Too many players from the same team. How do you avoid this? Should you avoid this? Is this a bad thing to do? To just stack them up like that? Well, it's really going to depend on a lot of different things, but let's just explore this a little bit. You know, in general, when you're just statistically looking at players, and you dive in a lot of these videos and articles that we're checking out in the summer, you know, they're individual players, and that's really how you have to approach it in your draft. You have to look at them as individual players. So back in the day, the Denver Broncos had, Emmanuel Sanders reminds me of this. You had Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders. I think Wes Welker was on that team with Peyton Manning, and Peyton Manning was lighting it up. You know, in that situation, if you had Sanders and Thomas or Welker, or you had any combination, 2 or 3 of them with Peyton Manning, I mean, that boom, you were just going to crush people, right? But more often than not, you know, you start thinking about the times it blows up in your face. Like for this year, you look at Geronimo Allison, who was sort of, I thought it was interesting, he was ranked as the second wideout on that team after the awesome Davante Adams. Allison was clearly number 2 in terms of fantasy football, what people coveted. It's been swaying. Allison finished that year hurt. Valdez, the eye test tells me he was a good player. He was catching a lot of balls, first down markers, grabbing it, dragging his feet, moving the chains. Valdez, he proved a lot to me, and I think a lot of people now who are jumping into fantasy football mock drafts, it's beginning to sway a little bit. I think we need to see what's going on there. So right now, they're pretty even. They're pretty evenly being drafted. Which one do we go with? Valdez is on the rise. So I would say right now, if your draft is today, go for Valdez for sure. Allison, we just don't know enough about just yet. Valdez is getting the pub too. He's getting the public quotes. So in that situation, say, oh, well, I can get Adams and I'll get Valdez. And maybe I love the Packers. I'm getting Aaron Rodgers too, and I'm going to have them all stacked up, right? Now, Aaron Rodgers is getting a little older, but you can pretty much bank on. Let's just hope Rodgers is going to make it through a whole year healthy. Last year, he was not healthy. He was banged up really early on, and he was a soldier. He had a solid year, but you could tell he was hampered for sure. So let's just assume he's healthy and he makes it through this whole year, mostly 100%. You can bank on these Packers are going to be a top offense. And you know Adams and Valdez and Allison, they're all going to be coveted. You're just going to want a piece of that pie. When you see an offense clicking like that, you want a piece of that pie. Back in the days when the Rams were awesome, I could never get Marshall Faulk because he was a top pick. Never got a top pick. Couldn't get Kurt Warner. Missed out on him. Couldn't get Torrey Holt. Couldn't get Isaac Bruce. So what did I do? I went and got me some Oz Hakeem off the free agent wire because I just wanted a piece of that pie. All right? Sometimes when an offense is so amazing, you just want a piece of that. You just want a little sliver of that so you can get some of that action in. And Oz Hakeem was actually a dynamite number 3 flex type player back in those greatest show on turf type years. So is that the kind of year we're getting out of Rodgers? Is he going to bounce back at this age? He's got a couple young wideouts, Davante Adams, a true number 1 wideout himself. So can you stack up multiple players from the same team? And I love, if you've been checking out the sheets, I also love Aaron Jones. I mean, can you have a team with all those players? Whether or not, you know, you're Packer fanatic or they happen to fall to you, should you do that? I would say, you know, if it's 2 or 3 players, you could probably, don't worry about it. Just take the best available player on your list, the one that you want. Don't worry that they're on the same team. You know, just go for it. But if you start getting where you're just like stacking up a whole lot of players on the same team, and this goes with the same, well, not so much the same bye week anymore, right? It used to be if you were on the same bye week, that would have been bad news. Now that I'm saying it out loud, there's so many different bye weeks now, trades and free agencies. I don't even look at bye weeks anymore, to be honest with you. I think that's kind of a waste of energy. So if they're all on the same team, should you do it? And I'm thinking, you know what? Aaron Rodgers goes down. Say he goes down again. He's a 35-year he's a quarterback in the NFL, right? So say he goes down, which is statistically very possible. just being a quarterback. All of a sudden, Aaron Jones goes from being a top 10 running back, in my mind, right now he's headed to be a top 10 running back, super undervalued, to, oh my gosh, barely startable probably. And I guess Adams could be serviceable, but the other guys, Valdez and Allison, forget it. They might as well cut material. If no Rodgers, those guys are going to be all off the boards. You just lost all of your, and now your team's decimated. So if you have all of them, one injury to a quarterback, whether you own Rodgers or not, if you have 3 or 4 players on the Packers, it's going to decimate all of that for you, right? And if you're playing multiple leagues, it's good, and you're heavy on Packers, your year's over pretty much. You know, you can cash it in. So to some extent, but really when you're making these charts and you're highlighting who you like coming up for a draft, it shouldn't be, oh, I already have Allison, and now the draft round comes around. I made my move for Allison. I already have Adams. And I have Aaron Jones or Rodgers or whatever. And Marquez Valdez comes around. You know, there's going to be other players that you can take. It's not like when you're getting into the middle, it's like there's not only one player. So I say at that point, you don't want to saturate your team with too many players from the same team. I mean, if it's 2 or 3, and it's an amazing offense, but really, a lot of offenses could fall apart on you when that quarterback goes away, and you want to avoid catastrophe. I think you need to diversify and have different kinds of players. So don't go reaching for something crazy. Chances are, though, this wideout is going to be, in this scenario, is going to be a bench player for you. So instead of that, I just bounce on down. I'll get me some Mecole Hardman, especially depending on how the Tyreek Hill situation works out. Or we'll see how things go. One of these players on the list could pop up as a more aspiring candidate. Someone like Andy Isabella easily could have the same kind of ceiling as Marquez Valdez-Scantling. He's getting a lot of press as the third. He's emerging as the third wideout in Arizona. Love Deshaun Jackson. I don't have Gallup highlighted, but I should. I do like Gallup. I think he really impressed at the end of the year. He's a young wideout, and he pulled down some impressive numbers, and the eye test was great for Gallup. I think he's headed for better things. So, you know, or just go to another position. I don't think you want to overload yourself to answer that question. So in the beginning, I was thinking, no, you could judge everyone on their individual merits, but I think there is a saturation point where you risk total devastation, and we want to avoid that. We don't want to wreck our seasons in week 2 due to one injury to one person, and you make 4 of your guys basically destroy their impact, and you have to rebuild your whole team. You don't want that to happen. And it's sad enough when you have a great player go down. You don't want them to take a whole fleet of your most impactful players with them. That being said, over the years, you know, I'm a huge Eagles fan. I had years where I just took a whole lot of Eagles. Oh my gosh, I had so much fun some of them years. I had McNabb, Westbrook, and T.O. And I had all 3 of them, and they all lit it up. They lit it up, and I was an Eagles fan. And it was like, that's fantasy glory, right? But that can certainly blow up in your face. You know, if you take your player and somebody goes down, you know, and we know in the NFL, most of those quarterbacks, they're all at risk. Everyone's at risk. It doesn't matter if they've had 20 years of health. Everybody's at risk of getting popped and going down. And if the quarterback goes down, 99% of the time, everybody else is going not only down, they're going way down to the point of being cut material. So, yeah, don't overstack yourself from the same team. Bye week wise, I wouldn't even worry about that. I don't think there's any situation where you're going to have 6 players on bye week 3 or 4 or whatever the bye weeks are. I haven't even looked at them because I don't think that's an impact anymore in today's fantasy game. You have waiver wires, you have trades you can do if things get desperate. Hopefully your draft is strong enough that if you have 3 or 4 guys on the same bye week, that you have a bench that is serviceable enough. And in such an event, you know, maybe that's the week. If you have so many players on that bye week and you can't get the free agents or trades to go, and maybe it's a bye week 5 and you're getting decimated, you know what? The rest of the weeks you're full tilt, right? You have all those players. So if you have to sacrifice 1 week statistically, it might work out better for you. You can sustain a loss or maybe get a lucky win, pick up some scrappy players that can help you. But I think analyzing this same kind of information to avoid saturating a bye week situation, I used to really highlight bye weeks and make them in my notes. I don't even look at it anymore. It's not even a factor, a blip on the radar. I just bring it up because I know for a lot of people are caught into the old school way of thinking of bye weeks being a huge factor and not wanting to load up. I think that really has gotten to the point where it's such a small factor. I'm not even looking at it anymore. So hopefully that helps you. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments. If you appreciate what I'm doing and you can throw me $1 on Patreon, check out the link in the description, and I'll see you next time.